Good morning, Rabboisai. I'm really on a high. Be'emes. It's back to back to back. It's unbelievable. Liluy Nishmas Pinchas. Today's sponsors, the Kessler Family, Refuah Sheleima for Aliza, Tova, Aster, Guruna, daughter, sister, cancer patient now diagnosed with COVID-19. Lo Aleinu. Please say Tehillim. By Chaim. Oh, I have to go make a phone call to Chaim in honor of Reb Eli. I think I know who he is now. By Temima Epstein, as appreciation for my husband Daniel Epstein for making Torah a priority. You see, the women, they might not tell you always. Once in a blue moon. As appreciation for my husband Daniel Epstein for making Torah a priority. They care. They appreciate it. Kopstick family, Liluy Nishmas Pinchas ben Yoel Kopstick, whose 15th yaartziet is on 3rd of Ellul, Refuah Sheleima for Aviva Chano bas Rivka. Paris HaChodesh, Michael Benmeleh, Hashem Yimalach Esroina, he had a fire. In memory of his mother, Devora Faige bas shmuel, Zochrona and father-in-law Menachem Mendel ben Elchanan, and in merit to make it to Uman Rosh this year, I just heard Aaron Hirsch scream Amen, even though everything is muted. It was amazing. This was the Chevra in Teaneck. Incredible. Over 50 people showed up over there. Last night completely took me by surprise because I was always under the impression that there's 20 guys in Lakewood or something. I don't know. I know there's a lot of people listening to share. I don't know where they are. And Lakewood Chevra are kind of quiet. But the Torah came, Mechaber Svarim, somebody came with his huge, Chaim Weissman, huge sefer, this large, on Yuma, Succah, the ganze Zach. Look at this, look at the Chevra over here. Tremendous. By some counts, I don't know, to me it seems like 70 people or so. Some people told me there was 100 people, Nichnas V'yelitz, some couldn't come in, there were so many people at the door. Unbelievable, Be'emes. Tremendous chizuk for me. I appreciate it very much, and a tremendous chizuk for the Olam. I think the Olam also gets a lot of hana to see and to shmooze. The whole camaraderie thing is unbelievable. People yesterday came in from Borough Park. There were a couple of cars that came in. People came in from Deal. We had 3 guys, at least that I met from Deal, New Jersey. Because they came in from all over the place. It was Givaldic. From Muncie, a bunch of guys. Of course, you'll see Klein, the Chev, Mark, and Phil. Unbelievable. Rabboisai, the tour continues. Right now I'm in the basement because I must catch a flight. I'm going to finish the shir and run without packing to the airport. I am going to Los Angeles. I'm going to be there for a couple of days. So even though I'm landing tonight, but it's going to be too late, so that's why I'm giving the shir right now. Tomorrow, Wednesday, there's a shir at 8 o'clock local time in Los Angeles, 8 o'clock p.m. I don't remember the exact name of the shul or whatever it is, but details to follow. So if you're in Los Angeles, please come out, please, even if you're shy. A lot of guys at the Sheva Brachos came over to me and said, you asked for the shy guys to come? I'm one of those guys. I'm not kidding. A bunch of people said that, and it was very much appreciated. Please come out. Be mechazik da olam. It's kedai. All right. Oh, yeah, we have to read a couple emails here. I'm not sure. This is from Matas Pilo. Dear Reb Eli, Mazel Tov on the massive operation of Avodas Hashem that you're building, which is just in its infancy. Amen. Just in its infancy. And also Mazel Tov, by the way, on the Chazan of your son. I've been enjoying your shir since the beginning of Brachos, but with a critical eye towards some of the rules set up by Chazal. How could they, even the best intentions, continuously be over on Loisoisiv Olav by adding on so many additional rules? Question. You ease this troubling challenge for me by your decision to mention a Tosfos on the Amud Beis that explains that about Tosfos when introducing additional minim. Any additions or strengthening of an existing min is not about Tosfos, but perhaps rather a show of interest and excitement for an already established mitzvah of the Torah. See, you don't know. Point out a little Tosfos satisfies this guy. May you continue to enlighten us all with the true intentions of Chazal, so that we grow to be interested and to be as excited by the Torah as you are. Okay, take that as a compliment. May we all be zocheh to complete Shas and start all together with you many more times. Start all over together with you many more times. Your loving Talmud, Matis below. Yishkoich Matis. What noch do we have over here? Do we have time? Dear Eli, I want to thank you and your wife for the great daily contribution you make for Am Yisrael, to Am Yisrael. Your shir is a high point of my day. A high point of my day. I was introduced to this shir last year by our son Hillel in Tel Zion. I've been fortunate to share the wealth with others in the U.S. who are learning with you daily. Shkoyach, appreciate the gift, the best gift ever. The late psychiatrist of Rabbi Avram Twersky wrote a book, Generation to Generation, on pages 58 to 63. You will find the story of Rabbi Menachem of Chernobyl, the sale of his tefillin, the broken esrog, and his great control of his anger. And I was reminded that Yochanan Itzkowitz already wrote to me that it's, in fact, Rabbi Menachem of Chernobyl, and that the pair of tefillin are by Rabbi Twersky from Flatbush. He's a famous Rav. I believe it's Rabbi Twersky, yeah? Not Eichenstein, Twersky, I'm pretty sure. And he wears those tefillin every single day. May Hashem give you and your devoted wife and all the principles you share great strength and good health to go Lamala in Torah b'Kavod Rav Chaim Moshe Kovacs, Hollywood, Florida. Shkoyach. Okay, this one, although it's an email, I'll leave it for a little bit. And we are starting today on Daf Lamed Hey Amud Aleph. So Boisai. I think almost every mitzvah that Kosh Baruch Hu gave us in the Torah, without the Torah Shabbal Peh, without Gemara, we wouldn't know what's going. We wouldn't know what's up and what's down. We wouldn't know what tefillin are, obviously. We don't know that they're square and that they're black and that they're tzuas. Nothing. We wouldn't know chsaftam al mezuzah b'secho v'sharecha. Chsaftam what, how, where, when. You need a Torah Shabbal Peh to explain everything. Yes, we have a Messiah, we have tradition, and we bring the same esrog and the lulav for thousands of years. But where do you see it in the Torah? How could you medaik it from the Torah? It's basically the same thing, saying over and over. I'm just making that extra nekuda that every mitzvah be'etzem is like that. If you don't believe in the Torah Shabbal Peh, you don't believe in the Gemara, so then we don't have mitzvahs at all. You can't. It's the fundamental of Yiddishkeit. We have to come on to the Torah Shabbal Peh, to the Gemara, to understand what the basic idea and the concepts are of these mitzvahs. Torah Rabban. Pre-Eitz Hadar. Eitz. Now, the Torah should say pre-Hadar. An esrog, whatever that fruit is a pre-Hadar. It's a beautiful fruit. The added word, it's the fruit of a tree that's beautiful. Tree is a little extra here. So for that, the Gemara says, Eitz shetam eitzo yupir yeshava. Because it's coming to teach us a secret. What kind of fruit is it? It's not an apple. It's a fruit that tastes like the bark. Now, how does a fruit taste like the bark? It's very interesting. Because the esrog, you don't really eat that inner part like we eat an orange and a lemon. An esrog, you eat the white part, like the peel. And therefore, that peel tastes like the bark. Eitz shetam eitzo yipir yishav aveoimeze esrog. Ask the Gemara, ve'ime pilpulin. Maybe it's peppers. Kedesanya hoyer ve'oimer mimash mashenem untatim kol eitz ein yoidea shu eitz machal. We're talking about Arla. Arla, the first 3 years you're not allowed to eat from the fruit. And it says, and when you plant these trees, now obviously these are trees of fruit. Why? If you look at the pasuk, it says in the pasuk, now somebody told me, even though I'm looking at it and it's all reversed, somebody told me it's not true. On YouTube, it comes out straight. Is that true? Is anybody watching YouTube now? It's coming out straight. Okay, good. So I should not get chatting about it. So why machal? Why are you telling me that it's edible? It says a second later, espirioi, fruit. And it says lo yachel. Here, if you just say this last word, lo yachel, obviously we're talking about fruit. So then what's the first part of the pasuk? Unatatim kol eitz enideshu machal machal matam elohim eitz machal, to teach us eitz shetam eitz yipir yeshava. So here we have a second fruit, so to speak. It's a pepper. That the pepper and the bark have the same exact flavor. And it's to teach us that you should know pepper is chayiv and arla. Now, so Rashi points out, Tosfos also talks about it a little bit. Why would I think pepper is potter from arla? Because pepper, you could think, is not a tree. Maybe it's a bush. Maybe it's a vegetable. That's most people. They'll tell you pepper is a vegetable. And on a vegetable, you potter from arla. Obviously, you can't have arla on tomatoes. They only grow once. It takes a year, and then they die out. There's no arla on vegetables. So you think perhaps there's no arla on a pepper. Kamash Malon, there is. Now, I received a beautiful email. Let me read it to you. Dear Reb Eli, I thought I'd be able to hand deliver the following to you, the Shavuot brachas tonight, but I have a family hashana, which prevents me from being with you. It's also a shame that you're now in Farakwe and I'm in Lawrence, and so this is my attempt at contacting you to give you Shalom Aleichem. I started doing Daf Yomi for the first time in January, started learning in bold the daf when I joined your shir from. I love it. Again, I just hopped it now. I started doing Daf Yomi for the first time in January. I started learning when I joined your shir from Succah. For the first time in years, I think I truly understand what the Gemara is saying. Your charts and pictures are great visual aids, help bring this to life. Attached below, please find the Chidush, a neshika, he calls it, a kiss from that the Boire Olam, his words, a neshika that the Boire Olam gave me regarding Sukkah Daf Lamed Hey. I hope you enjoy Shalom Golombek. That's how you pronounce it. So what does Reb Shalom say here? He says that he gave this to Rabbi Zlotowitz, Zechron Levracha. Rabbi Zlotowitz loved it. He asked him permission to print it. Bekitzer, he says that he is in the business of spices. Interesting, because the chassan I'm going to in Los Angeles, my sister's making chassan. Also, I forgot the name, Galatsky, something like that. Golovsky, I don't know, whatever. I apologize. He actually watches the shir, so I mamish have to apologize. Galovatsky, okay, whatever. One of those names that's hard for me. So, also in the spice business. He did research. Somebody asked him the Shiloh, how's it possible? If you think it's black pepper, it's not true. I tasted the bark of black pepper and it has nothing, doesn't taste anything, it has nothing in common with the actual crushed black pepper. He did a lot of research. He goes on, he went through this spice, but this spice wasn't in the time of the Gemara at all, and then this spice wasn't in this country, and it wasn't here. A ganz arichos, a very, very long shtickle Torah email. But anyways, I'm just taking out the last part. By chance, I was researching black pepper. I saw something called Meliguda pepper, or grains of paradise, as it's known today. Seeds of a perennial plant related to the ginger family, indigenous to West Africa. Centuries ago, the true pepper was unavailable. The Kitzer influx of grains caused a sharp decline in the Lisbon market price of black pepper. Ganz arichos, he says that if you look at it, it actually looks like a dried out esrog. Part of his question is that some of these pepper trees, Rashi says it's a very short bush, right? That's why you think that it's a yerek. He says some of these trees grow 40 feet tall, 100, in some cases 100 feet tall. How come Rashi says it's a small bush? This, in fact, is a small bush. And this is what it looks like. When it's dried out, it looks like a dried out esrog. Okay, that's the shtickle Torah. He says, yes, it actually does. The flavor of the bark tastes like the pepper. Very, very interesting. Now, the other day, I was scratching my head. I thought there was another item that tastes like the bark. And Baruch Hashem, Tosis over here brings it, tilton, which is, what is it in English? Chilba in Hebrew. Okay. Hakoponim, so Tosis does bring a fourth one. Says the Gemara. So, but the question is, the bottom line of the question is, how do you know it's an esrog? How do you know that esrog, just because the fruit tastes like the bark, there's something else that the fruit tastes like the bark called pepper. Well, pepper, maybe it's this one, what does he call it again? The grains of paradise pepper. Okay. Or black pepper, whatever you want. You don't want to be too modern and go into these things and say, no, it's black pepper. Okay, hit your head in the wall, black pepper. Gewalt. Whatever, it's some sort of pepper. Listen to this, Rabbi says Murdik. Eretz Yisrael is not missing a thing. By the way, there's every single car, any car you can imagine, is in Eretz Yisrael, from Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Rolls Royce, Bugattis, everything. But obviously the Torah is talking about fruits. It even has peppers, and even has these peppers of paradise. There's once a guy that came to Reb Eli Stefansky. He says, Rebbe, give me a bracha. I said this mice over maybe a year ago, I don't know when. Seems like a very long time ago. He says, what bracha do you want? I want a bracha, tichla shana v'kil loisel. Stop the year of klolos, of curses, and tachel shana b'richosel. It's brought down in these calendars, Stop the curses already. And start a year of prosperity, of bracha. So Reb Eli Stefansky looked at him and said, Mechutzef, a year of curses? Look how beautiful your year was. You married off 2 daughters and you're telling me it's a year of curses? The bottom line is, we all have to look into ourselves, because we have such good things going on. Everything, and we're going to focus on the bad and say this is a curse. It's a curse. Yeah, we all have tsaras. We all have issues, obviously. But it's a year of curses. Look at the good. Look at all the Torah we learned and all the good. Stop, I was reminded. I don't know if mamish has to do, but Eretz Yisrael has it all. It's all good. It's in there. How are you going to bring? So we have 2 choices. Okay, you're right. You have an esrig and you have pilpel. Taisus brings tilton. But what are you going to do? You can't bring a pepper. Did you see the size of this thing? Here, tiny. So you can't use that as an esrig. He's tiny and good. Look, it actually, if you look from afar, it looks like a bunch of esrogim laying down. I hear what he's saying. You have to be able to tell that it says lokachtem, you took something. If you can't see that you took it, like Reb Chaim's esrog over there, it's a nikar that he took it. This little guy, a little pilpul, a little black pepper, whatever it is, that's not a lekicha. Nikar treyut lasa, but so you'll take 3. It's meduik that it's 1, not 2, 3, shloisha pairs. Therefore, you're right. It's a good taina, but it's impossible. Reb Eli over here, as Ashkenazi, as a Litvak, I want to bring a raya. It's it's bad humor. I want to bring a raya that Ashkenazim are the way to go. Chasidim, no good. Svardim, no good. Why? Because of this Gemara. Rebbe Yomer, Al Tikri, we're talking about how to pronounce stuff. Al Tikri Hadar Elo Hadir. Now, if you're a chassid, you have a big problem here, especially coming up. But if you're a Litvak, it works out great. Hadar. Komets, reish. Hadar. Don't read Hadar, ela Hadir. Hadir is a pen, it's a barn. I don't know how chassid is going to read this, I don't know. Hudar, ela Hudar. I'll take the Hudar, ela Hudar. It's going to be a big problem. Ela Hadir. Hudir. Yeah, Hudir. Okay, Hudir, it will work. It's coming up. What is dir? Dir is a barn. A barn. So he's learning from the word Rebbe, and let's remember this Rebbe for a second, because we're going to have another pshat exactly like him, but different. It's the same outcome, but different. How you pronounce the word. So he pronounces, don't read it hadar. In other words, there's a little hint here in the word, the krieg siv. I can read it with a chirik under the dalet. Instead of hadar, it's hadir. Dir is a pen, a barn. Mad dir ze yesh boy gdolim uktanim, temima balimum. Just like a barn, you have large animals and small animals. Every year, there's a new generation that comes in there. Hachanami yesh boy gdolim uktanim. So to an esrig, on the same tree, you have a very small esrogim, a very large esrogim. Temimim balimumim, some of them have bletlach and holes in them, and some of them are perfect. What? The other fruit don't have small and large. No need for a picture. This doesn't do anything, but it's here imprinted. you could have an esrog this size, and all of a sudden you have a little guy popping up over here. In other words, the esrog is the only fruit that can remain on the tree for many years because it doesn't really have fruit inside. It only has a very small amount, so it just stays and stays for 2-3 years, not a problem. So if it's there for 2 years, all of a sudden another tiny baby esrog comes up, just like with the animals. You have an adult animal, and all of a sudden in the pen, in the barn, all of a sudden another small animal. By apples, you don't have that. They all fall off the tree at a certain time, and that's it. Reb Avo Amar, and Rashi points out that Reb Avo is saying the same exact thing as Rebbe. Al Trikri Hodor Elo Hador. And this is my raya. How is a Sephardi going to read this? Al Trikri Hadar Elo Hadar. No, so it's the same word. They don't have a comment. And if you're a chassid, Al Trikri Hudor Elo Hudor. Nee. So what happened there? Okay. Akiva Ziegler doesn't like what I'm saying. He says that there's a way to read it. Okay. I'm just reminded, I like to say over this mice, I say over it a lot. If you haven't heard the story, I learned in Beis Yitzchak Skver on 45th Street and 14th Avenue. And we had, you hear Gershon? I see your mamish listening intently. How you doing? You made it back there. Just show Baruch Hashem. You're looking good, actually. So, the Rebbe said, we're learning the Sugi in Kiddushin. If the man says, Arei Ad Mekudeshes Li, and the woman gives the man the ring. I just love this mice. I remember as I was only 10 years old, and I was laughing my head off in front of the Rebbe. He said, there's 4 cases. Nusan hi v'umrehi. Oder nusnehi v'umrehi. Oder nusan hi v'umarhi. Tomer, umrehi v'nusnehi. What just happened? It was all he. It was all the same. Anyway, I guess if you understand, you understand. But what's the point there? Al tikri hodor elo hador. Hodor. Don't read it beauty. Read it with a patach. Hadar. Hador. Not hodor. Hador. Hador means that it lives. It hangs out on the tree. Dover shador bilanoi mishana l'shana. It's the same exact thing as Rebbe says, but they learn it from a different way of reading the word. He learns it with a chirik, deer, it's a barn, and he learns dar, he's living. But the outcome is the same exact thing, that the esrog lives on the tree for more than a year. Idur means water. Okay, so a lot of times the Gemara uses Yevani, Greek. They used to write the Sefer Torah Yevani, whatever. Greek and Lashon Kodesh could be interchangeable. So in Greek, water is idur, ve'izihi shigoda kol mayim. What fruit requires lots of water and irrigation and everything else? Haveomer ze esrog. Esrog is a very, very difficult thing to grow, and it's a year-round avodah. They have farmers, they have these guys, and I've seen it with my own eyes. You have these guys going all day long, making sure that the thorns don't go into the esrog. They're cutting and snipping and watering and moving. It's a constant all year round. So this we know very well. Why is an esrog that grew in or was worshipped as Avodah Zarah or grew in a city of Avodah Zarah? Why is it no good? Since it must be burned, it no longer has the shear, whether it's the walnut or the egg, it doesn't have a shear. If it's an esrog that is less than 3 years old and it's also bahana, you can't use it as an esrog. My time, why not? So what if it's also bahana? Mitzvahs lavna isn't. You're not benefiting from a mitzvah. You're just doing Ratzon Hashem. Rashi said, right? Like an eved, like a servant doing something for his master. He doesn't care if you're allowed to have it or not. His master told him to do it. He does it. One says the reason is, they both say basically the same idea. I mean, in terms of the outcome is the same. It has to be lochem. It has to be yours. And if you cannot eat it, it's not considered yours. It's not lochem. Something you can't eat is not yours. So that's reason number one. V'chadomar, we don't know who says what. The Gemara is going to tell us who says what. V'chadomar, lefi she'ein bo din mamon. Okay. It's not considered money. If it has no value, you can't own something that has no value. I own this piece of sand over here. You see this piece of sand that's on my finger? Yeah, I don't either see it, but it's there and I own it. You know why I own it? Because I decided I own it, but it has no monetary value. No monetary value means you don't own it. Very interesting, I saw they discuss, in those days, arobas were very, very cheap. Not like today. Even today, they're very cheap. They cost $1 or whatever. But let's say they cost 5 cents. So it has no monetary value. So how are you bringing arobas? If you have to have monetary value, and if it's not monetary value, it has zero monetary value, it's so common, everybody in their backyard has one, it's like a blade of grass, then you're not bringing an arova. You didn't bring anything. It just said, here, Lefisha ain't but din mammon. Arla has no monetary value because it's also by us, there's no monetary value. If no monetary value, you didn't bring anything. Okay, they discuss it. It seems like that there's two different reasons here. You have to be able to eat it in order to be considered lochem. You have to be able to own it in order to be considered lochem. But they're not. If you hold one, you don't hold the other. So now we learned in the Mishnah, if you have truma, the 2% you give to the kohen and it's tamei, it's possible for as a esrog. If you say you can't eat it, that's why it's not an esrog. You can't eat it. Can't eat it. It has no value. But if the whole point is it has no monetary value, it's not true. It does have monetary value. There's a pasuk that teaches us that you can use it for firewood, throw it into the fire, and it has monetary value. If it has monetary value, you should be able to use truma tmeya. Says the Gemara, therefore, I can establish one thing. Everybody agrees that you must be able to eat it in order for it to be considered shalochem. The only question is the monetary value. That's the question. One man holds you need to be able to eat it, but you don't need to have monetary value. That's why it doesn't matter if you can be mesik or not. The other man says, no, you need two things. Everybody agrees you need to be able to eat it. If you can't eat it, it's not yours. Finished. End of story. So any item that you can't eat is not yours. No machlokes. Machlokes is, what if you could eat it, but it has no monetary value? We're going to give a beautiful example what that could be. There's a few things. My benayu. Meiser sheni b'Yerushalayim. I'll leave it there. Meiser sheni, that you could eat, but it's not yours. Whose is it? It's considered Mammon Gavoya. It's HaKadosh Baruch Hu's. He gives you permission to eat. You could eat a steak. You could do whatever you want. Is that Shirley? Gary, we haven't known the caves on the. What's going on there? Okay, she's only 3 years old. We'll allow it this time. Now they're going to say, in Lakewood, they're going to say that the 3-year-old girls are watching the share and it's on Zoom, Hashem Yirachem. It's all Gary's fault. It's always Gary's fault. So she obviously, Gershon, she doesn't chap the shir because I even said her name and everything. She didn't even chap. She didn't even crack a smile. So obviously she's not paying attention. All right. Okay. You have Meiser Sheni, again, a person takes 10%, it's not 10%, whatever percent it is, 8%, let's call it 8% of his produce, 8.8, whatever the number was, and he takes that produce to Yerushalayim. He can't take the produce, so he exchanges it into money, takes the money to Yerushalayim. Now, that money, that produce, whose is it? It's not his. It's Hashem's. He is allowed to benefit from it, he's allowed to eat it. So, therefore, I have a case. It's Roy Lachila, but it doesn't have any monetary value. So if it doesn't have, like they would leave it there. We had the whole, they couldn't eat all of it. A guy's he has 1 million pounds of produce. He's not going to be able to eat it and consume the monetary value of it. So he leaves it for his friends in Yerushalayim. The kids, it's not his. He could eat it. If the only concern is that you can't or could eat it, you could eat Meiser Sheni, therefore it's yours, do whatever you want with it. Use it as Ezra. But if you say that you have to have two things, a combination of being able to eat it, but also it has to have monetary value. Meiser Sheni does not have monetary value, therefore you cannot use it as an Esri. To stay in the Reb Asi, stop. We don't know who says what. So the Gemara says, I'll bring you Raya who says what. To stay in the Reb Asi, it's Reb Asi who says that I also need monetary value. Reb Asi, Esrik Shemaiser Sheni, L'diri Meir ein Adam Yotz B'dei Chavas B'yantav, L'diri Chachamim Adam Yotz B'dei Chavas B'yantav. So it's Reb Asi who says that according to Reb Meir ein Adam Yotz B'dei Chavas B'yantav, Esrik Shemaiser Sheni. Here he talks about Meiser Sheni. And he says that according to Reb Meir, why? Because you need monetary value. Because according to Chachamim, it's actually yours. But the problem is monetary value or not monetary value. So here, this Chachamim, we might be using the Chachamim later. So remember this Chachamim that say what? That you could be yaartziet with a esrog of Meiser Sheni. Why? Because Meiser Sheni is considered yours. It's not Mami Gavoy according to Chachamim. To Stayim, it's a good raya. Guf Omer Abasi. Esrog Shel Meiser Sheni, somebody sent me an email already that he saw me drinking from a bottle. Here's the second time. When I'm on the road and I don't have somebody to give me a cup, drink from the bottle. What am I going to do? By the way, you're not going to believe it. I'm wearing this jacket, L'Kavod Tzibur. I should take it off. I'm also not telling my father who's in this basement to turn up the air conditioner. But just so you know the degrees. You see what's going on here? 77 degrees in here. Kibbud Aveim. Not going to say a word to him. You want 77. It's the middle of the summer. Omer Abasi, Esrog Shel Meiser Sheni, L'diri Meir ein Adam Yotz B'dei Chavas B'yantav. L'diri Chachamim Adam Yotz B'dei Chavas B'yantav. Oh, so we learned about an Esrog. Esrog for Meiser Sheni, according to Meir, you can't be yaartziet. According to Chachamim, you could be yaartziet. So now the Gemara is going to bring two other examples. Matzah Shel Meiser Sheni. What about matzah? Now you could eat Meiser Sheni all day long. Can you be yaartziet with produce of Meiser Sheni, make a matzah? Why not? Because matzah is going to be learned from challah, gzeir shava. Just like challah has to be yours, and that's what we're discussing. Is Meiser Sheni yours? Yes, you get to eat it. You do whatever you want with it. You go to the restaurant, you can buy steak with it, you can buy soda with it. But is it yours? Is it yours? What is the fine? Rashi says a beautiful thing here. How do you know if something is yours? If you could marry a woman with it, could you be mekadesh a woman with that money? That's how you know. Could you be mekadesh a woman with Meiser Sheni? According to Meir, no. You could eat it all day long. You cannot be mekadesh a woman. According to Chacham, you could. So Meiser Sheni. So I'm taking money from my Meiser Sheni, and I cannot be mekadesh a woman with it, and I go and I buy flour and I make matzah with it. It's not my matzah. So maybe I'm not yaartziet. According to Meir, you're not yaartziet. It's yours. So it's yours. You can mekadesh a woman, you make a matzah. Another halacha. Isa shel Meiser Sheni. By Isa, by dough, it says Arisa. You say chem, it must be yours. It's not yours, so you have no obligation to give challah, a portion to the kohen. According to Chacham, that it's yours, so you chayav b'challah. It says mefurish chem, it should be yours by challah. Lochem, it has to be yours. Mishalachem, elo matzah miksiv matzaschem. It doesn't say anywhere in the Torah it has to be your matzah. Shmuel v'Temima Rabbi Yemi bar Shlemyo, asyu lechem lechem. Yeah, this is Gzeira Shava. Chsiv hacha lechem oini. By matzah it says lechem. Uchsiv hasam, and it says boy bacholchem and lechem. Haaretz by challah it says lechem. So Menachem, I learn one from the other, and I learn matzah from challah. Mala alon mishalachem v'lim mishal meiser. Just like by challah it has to be yours. Arisoy seichem. Afkam mishalachem v'lim mishal meiser. So too, by matzah, we just turn to Daf Lamed Hey Amud Beis, sponsored by the MDY Tehillim Group. For all those who need shidduchim, refuahs, and shuas, please join Tehillim.8mindaf.com. Zog the Gemara, Leimim Sayele, Avaraya, Isa Shal Meiser Sheni Ptur Min Achalo Divrei Meir. It says that if you have dough from Meiser Sheni, again, Meiser Sheni is the 10% or 8.8% that you give yourself from the produce 4 out of the 7 years. If you take dough from that, you don't have to give challah because it's not considered yours. It's only considered yours to the point that you could eat it, but that's it. But you can't be mekadosh a woman with it. It's 100% yours. You chayav b'challah. What do you mean? It's a raya. It's exactly what we're talking about. Elo midbahopligi. Since it's machlokes by challah, bonami pligi. Perhaps, can I bring a raya from here, from challah to esrog and matzah? That's what the Gemara wants to know. We have 3 cases. We have challah, esrog, matzah. All of them in Meiser Sheni. Are you yaartziet with any of them? Or not yaartziet, but challah, do you have to bring challah? Esrog, are you yaartziet? Matzah, are you yaartziet? Is the connection between esrog and matzah to challah? Says the Gemara, by challah it says arisa seichem twice. So there's the extra arisa seichem to say that it must be yours, and Meiser Sheni doesn't work. But perhaps Meiser Sheni does work by an esrog. Now I don't want to go into what happens by matzah, because matzah might be different than an esrog, although it doesn't say it at all. There might be Gzeira Shava to challah. Maybe not. I saw it going both ways. You have the Elchanan seems to be saying that both of them. In other words, challah is on its own. It's in one category because it says arisa seichem twice. And then you have matzah and esrog on the other side that you could be yaartziet with the esrog, you could be yaartziet with the matzah. And then you have the aruch laner and others who say no. There's 2 categories, but the matzah goes back to the challah because challah and matzah are in the same category because of Gzeira Shava. Okay, fine, just to make you confused a little bit, but it's okay. Either way. Shel truma tmeya psula. So you have truma that you're supposed to give to the kohen. It became tamei. Somebody with tuma touched it. Possible. The lesbo heter achila. Now that we learned already. Everybody holds that you must be able to eat it, and if you can't eat it, it's not yours. That's no shaila. So since this truma tmeya, you can't eat it, so it's not yours. So you can't be yaartziet with it. V'shel truma ta'ira le'yital. L'chatchila, the Mishnah says you shouldn't take even truma ta'ira. You shouldn't use it as esrog. Pligi bar v'amavasi chadomar mepnei shemach shiro. So I am of the opinion, and I'm far, far from knowing Shas or anything close to it, but I always say, until somebody proves me wrong, I believe if it's not the most popular topic in Shas, it's one of the top 3. Maybe Trumas or Meisers, I don't know, I'm thinking now. But this idea of Hechsher Tuma, brought in Shas so many times, it's very hard to do a search on it, because it's brought down in many different words and ways. Here, Mipnei Shemach Shira, it's not a new, but it's different than usually. In other words, if a fruit should become tamei, it's only if water spilled on it. If you were machshir, you poured some water on it, you had intent that the water should go on it, then it's roi lekabel tuma, then it's muchshir lekabel tuma. So the problem with using truma is that in those days, Taisa brings it down, people would take the lulav, and we're discussing how do you keep your adasim and aravas fresh. You put them in a paper towel with some water. Don't use a paper towel because that's going to disintegrate. Use a newspaper. No. Don't use a newspaper because that's not good. Use tin foil. But don't pour the water, just sprinkle it on in different places. No. Take an inch of water, put it in the bottom of fine. But there's a lot of water going on here. And water is a machshir lekabel tuma. And in those days, they would take the lulav, you hear? Taisa says, they would take the lulav and put it in a bowl of water every day so that the lulav shouldn't dry out. That was a minhag that they did then. So this idea of sprinkling water is old already. It's 2,000 years old. But what happens is, if you're going to put it in water, now it can become tamei. So what if it could become tamei? So you're bringing it closer. You spoiled something. You did something wrong here. You have truma that if it becomes tamei, it's puzzled completely. You can't do anything with it. So you're bringing it one step closer to that point, and that's wrong. We can ask, there's a lawyer in Chicago that watches the shir every day. He didn't show up to the Chicago shir, of course. Kedarka Makodesh of all Chicagoans. His name is Steve Jakobowski, and he's indexing the entire Shas. So we can ask him, maybe he has all the times that the Gemara brings Hechsher L'Kabel Tuma. He said that's why I can't come to the shir. He's too busy. As he's watching the shir, he pauses it and he writes and he has it. Okay, as lawyers do. Anyway. Now, B'chad Omar Mipnei Shemafsido. You know, if you take an esrog, you look at your esrog on the 7th day of Sukkot, it starts becoming brown, it starts having this. Now you ruined it. Truma, the kohen is not going to want to eat that esrog. We're talking about food here. You want to eat an apple that looks all nasty on the outside? No, you ruined it. It has less value. You created less value to the truma. Says the Gemara, what's enough community between the two pshatim? For instance, if he said that the entire fruit is truma besides the outer layer. So if you are ruining the outer layer, you're not ruining truma because the outer layer in this point is not truma. If it's about pouring water on a fruit, so even though the outer layer is not truma, it's still moshel kabel tuma, and the inside is going to become tamei also, and that's what's truma. But according to the pshat, that we're concerned that you're going to ruin the fruit, this esrog was worth, in terms of fruit, forget about a mitzvah. In terms of fruit, this was worth, let's say, $1 because it has some jam inside, and now it's worth 50 cents. Nobody wants the dirty ones, the ones that, by the way, the Chazon Ish says that when you use an esrog, very interesting, when you use an esrog on Yontif, 7 days, and it starts getting brown, he says that's the beauty of the mitzvah. That's what he says. I thought it's a beautiful thing. He says, you're using it for the mitzvah. It happened through the mitzvah. It's like a worn out, tefillin. It's like you use it for the mitzvah. It's not disgusting. It's beautiful. You use it for the mitzvah. Okay. Zok the Gemara. Now, but if you go ahead and you take this truma, that's tar, and you used it, it's kosher. You're yaartziet. Why? Because if you're a kohen, you could eat it. And if you're Yisrael, maybe you have a daughter that's married to a kohen, you have a grandchild, you give it to him. Now, you have to see this Rashi. Fascinating Rashi, I thought. Dibur maskal areish b'heter achila. Give it to kohen. Yisrael nami give it to his granddaughter. Listen to this. Avo pidyon, don't think that the pshat in the Gemara is that you could redeem it, like you redeem Meiser Sheni. Avo pidyon ein lo liyos niteres la'achilas Yisrael. That's not going to help at all. V'oimer came, and whoever says you could redeem truma, rashahu. It's a very strong language. You would think that Rashi would say v'oimer, and if you say that you could redeem truma, toya, making a mistake. No. Russia. I don't know, pshat, maybe there were people in those days that were running around saying different crazy things. Russia, these are Russia. Okay? There's once a case where the Rav was mater a mamzer somehow. He said that this mamzer, he's not a mamzer, the whole thing. So the stipler wrote like I don't know how many pages. He made fun of this Rav inside out, backside forwards. The only joke I remember is that he said, he said, so the guy brought Eidim, and he says they're 100% puzzle. How do I know they're puzzle? Because they ate on Yom Kippur. So how do you know he ate on Yom Kippur? Because I saw him eating. I have two Eidim that saw that he ate 2 loaves of bread. But you have to eat achilas kukuseves hagasa. Says the stipler, maybe gasa means a behema gasa. Maybe there's a gzer shava to behema gasa. He's making fun. Kids eat anything you want to say. I'll dreiz a chakab and I'll say kukuseves hagasa, which is a date, a giant date, is really a giant animal. It's a behema gasa. Kids, anyway, let me show you. There are people there, and so if you say these kind of things, you're Russia. Says the Gemara, Vishal Dmai, Lamad Hashem, but didn't Mamoin, Aresh, but didn't Mamoin. Vishal Dmai. You have fruit that you bought from an Amarit, you don't know if he took Trumas and Meisers or not, and according to Beishamai, according to Beisilo, you're Yaitza. Now, why are you Yaitza? You can't benefit from it until you take Trumas and Meisers. By the time of the Beisilo, Kiven, the boy Mafkilu Nichse, have ani v'chazile. Because of the famous concept in Shas, everybody, even a millionaire, has the ability to just say, I'm giving up everything I own. Ask Gary, he's on now. That's what we did in Ramat Beit Shemesh, and some they did it around the world. You wanted to go bring your kli to the mikveh, you had a brand new kli, and it was COVID, and there's no mikvahs, so you just mafkir your kli. You put it outside your house, you put a WhatsApp thing, my kalim are hefker for the next 5 minutes. Whoever wants can take it. So you have this. It's a kula. And why do we do this kula? Because the whole problem with demai is only the rabbanon. Most of the time, an am aretz does take the proper trumas and maisrus. On the tzad that he didn't take trumas and maisrus, you have a way to get out of it because you, the millionaire, you're going to give up everything you own. You're going to become poor for that moment. Since you're poor for that moment, you could eat the Dmai. Chacham said, poor people could eat Dmai and soldiers. Hashanami lochem karina bay, and therefore it's considered yours. This not. Machin zanim Dmai. A poor person could eat Dmai. There's chasanya Dmai. The soldiers. Machlaikis. Talking about Jewish soldiers, not Jewish soldiers. But the point is, if the soldiers, it's like taxes, you have to pay. The king requires the tzibur to pay for these soldiers. So you give them Dmai. Even the soldiers that are Jewish could eat it. So why did Bishamai say it's no good? Because at the end of the day, they hold that even if you become poor, it doesn't help because a poor person doesn't eat Dmai. It's not. A poor person doesn't eat Dmai. So there's no trick to get out of it. Fine. Next sugya. Shel Meiser Sheni Biru Shalayim. So B'kitzur, we had the sugya. It's going to be very, very easy now until the bottom of the Amud. Shel Meiser Sheni Biru Shalayim. So if you eat Meiser Sheni Biru Shalayim, it's okay. No good. Sorry. No good. Let's go back to the Mishnah. Ezra goes over the you should not take an esrog that's meiser sheni Yerushalayim. Vim not al kosher. So vim not al kshero time out. So meiser sheni Yerushalayim, you should not do it. Why? Either because you're helping it go forward to become kabel tuma, mashal kabel tuma, or because you're ruining it. Not al, but the Evid, after the fact, if you did it, kosher. You could eat it. So according to everybody, it's okay. If the problem is, like by our law, doesn't have the moment. Hamani Rabbanani. Rabbanan say that Meiser Sheni is yours 100%. And Menmeleh, the mission is going according to Rabbanan, and that's why you can use it. Also by Chazazis. So yesterday we discussed it a little bit. If it boils, popped up on the esrog. So we had this sugya, mamish, word for word, when it came to hadas and the grapes on the hadas, so we're going to fly through it. Rav said this halacha. Should help him. If the chazazis, like in this picture, is on in one spot, great. Aval is actually machlokes rishonim, so I'll show you real quickly. Why not? 1, 2, and 3, or some rishonim mean it's on the same plane. 1, 2, 3. The other one say it's like all over. It has to be on roiv hakeifa, most of the width of the esrog. Okay, fine. The point is, if it's in 2, 3 places, have it like a menumar, then it's like a leopard. It's spotted. It's not hodar upasul. Sorry, it's kosher. It's kosher. Omerle Rava, ask Rava kasha. Adrab. The exact opposite of what you're thinking. It's such a bomb question like we had over there. By hadas, the opposite. If it has 3 places, it should be puzzle. It's menumer. It's leprosy. Not leprosy. It's like a leopard. Little dots. Maybe it's the same word. Eli yitma seif yitma. Al miyuti kosher. Says in the Seifa, if it's on a very small part of it, like here, just a small part, kosher. On that comes Rav and says, Hashem should help him. Even if it's al miyutoi, small part of this. Havalik in a menumar, apostle doesn't matter, and that's it. Oh, so what is choitmai? There's actually a machlokes rishonim here, a big machlokes rishonim, but we go according to Rashi. Very interesting. Rashi says choitmai is on this plane, exactly where the what do we call this? The incline, whatever that word is. Where it stops becoming steep, right over here, that's where the mashu is. The Rosh says it's in this entire area. The Ran says right over here. Bekitzer, machlokes rishonim, 4 rishonim. The Ram says something else. Omer Rav, Val choitmai vafilu b'mashu nami pasal. If it's right over here, interesting why Rashi says that. If it's right on the choitmai, he says it's one playing field, one line. If it's a little tiny bit on that line, then it's puzzle. Rabboisai, have a wonderful day. Wish me luck. Mazel, bracha v'atzlocha on the way to Los Angeles. It's only 6-hour flights, like halfway to Eretz Yisrael, even more. And I'll see the Olam in Los Angeles. If you're in Los Angeles, please come out there. Some choshev people are going to be there. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.